The Garmin EchoMap UHD 2 is one of Garmin's top fish finders, but is it actually worth the price? Let's find out. Hey fellow fishing fanatic, my name's Wes Littlefield with Anglers.com, and about a month ago I installed the Garmin EchoMap UHD 2 on my kayak after Garmin sent it to me for some testing. Now that means I don't get to keep it, and I'm about to be brutally honest about what I like and what I don't like about this fish finder. Let's start with what I didn't like. So I normally run a UHD and a 7-inch screen on my kayak, and I love it. And the problem with this unit, the 9-inch screen, is that it didn't seem that much of an upgrade. I didn't feel like I needed to upgrade in order to find more fish. I felt this way for several reasons, but the biggest was that the transducers are compatible. I was using my old transducer with this newer unit. Now granted, that might have made some of my scans and readings a little bit off, but I was still able to find a ton of fish using my old transducer. So I know using the newer transducer would be a little bit of upgrade, but as far as I know, it's basically the same transducer with maybe some minor tweaks to it. Still, this unit has a faster processor, a more refined interface, a better GPS receiver, and a few other things that don't necessarily help the average angler find more fish, but they're nice upgrades. Another con, and honestly this is a con for fish finders in general, is the different size screens have different features. I just find it really frustrating that if I get the 5-inch screen of the UHD 2, I don't have all the capabilities of the 9-inch screen. So when you're buying the UHD 2, be sure that you're getting the correct screen size and the features that you're wanting. And just know that if you need a smaller screen size, while the 5-inch screen is over half the price of the 9-inch screen, you're still getting fewer features as well. Now today, I don't think this is such a big con because everybody's used to a touch screen. And so maybe I'm being a little too old school with this and wanting to go back to when I was a little bit younger. But the UHD 2 only has touchscreen navigation. I say that in parentheses with a little bit of quotes technically because there is key assist, like you've got some shortcut buttons you can hit real quick, or you can zoom in or zoom out really quick with buttons, but 99% of your navigation is gonna be touchscreen. That means you're gonna get fingerprints and smudges on it, you're gonna need to clean your screen a little bit more, and I didn't get to operate it in cold weather, so I don't know for certain how well it functions in cold weather. If it's like your cell phone, it's probably not a big deal, and I say that because I did get my hands wet. It was a little bit misty when I was working with it, and it worked just fine with some water on the screen, so I could imagine that, you know, having cold isn't gonna affect it that much. I think the biggest con for boat anglers and really serious boat tournament anglers is that the 9-inch screen is the largest of the EchoMap UHD 2. You'll have to step up to a whole nother level if you want to get a bigger screen. But for kayak anglers like me, the 9-inch screen is a perfect size. I was able to see it whether sitting down or standing up very easily, but again, I'm right there on it versus in a boat where I'd be standing up, I'd probably have a little bit harder time seeing it thanks to needing glasses and all. So if I was to install one for my grandpa on his boat, I'd probably want a bigger screen and I'd have to start paying even more money for that. So that's really the biggest downsides that I found so far. Here are several things that I did like about it. Now I think $1,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to me. I would assume it's a lot of money to you. Otherwise you would just go out and buy a $1,000 fish finder like nothing. But I still think this fish finder is reasonably priced. And that's because of all the features that it offers compared to others on the market. Garmin is one of the leading fish finder brands, and I've had very few issues with several of their products that I've used over the years. And so if I'm gonna spend $1,000 on a fish finder, it's gonna be from a name brand like Garmin. Now one reason why I think they can keep the price lower than I would expect it to be at is because they don't try to cram a bunch of features that the average angler isn't gonna be able to use. So what I mean by that is it has all the features that you need to help you find fish, but it doesn't have every feature that they could think of crammed into it, which is why it's about the middle of the road in terms of price and amount of features offered by Garmin. Now, if you're like me, you use a fish finder to find fish, right? And I think nowadays, so many fish finder companies get caught up in cramming this feature and they forget that the average angler cannot use all those features. So once again, I think this does a really good job of just offering the features that we anglers need to find fish. Out of all the modern fish finders that I've reviewed, I've yet to come across one that isn't bright enough to see in the sun. Now, some are better than others, and this one especially is super easy to see in the sun. Now, there was a couple times when the angle was just right and the sun was reflecting right off the screen and glaring in my eyes. You can see it in a video like this. But for the most part, all you have to do is just adjust your angle a little bit and you can see the screen again. So I had no problem seeing the screen if it was sunny or cloudy, and it has auto adjusting brightness, or you can go into the settings and adjust it yourself, so you'll always be able to see the screen. Now this next pro argues a little bit with what I said earlier in the con, but it really does have clear sonar. Now it wasn't a major upgrade from the original UHD, but that's because the original UHD had really good sonar. The only time that I noticed that my sonar was fuzzy was when I was running live scope, and that was on me because I was using the same battery for my live scope and my unit, and it's not a very big battery on top of that, so I was pulling a lot of power out of that battery, and I've been told that if I would just use a separate battery for my live scope, it would be so much clearer. I'm just too lazy to rig up that battery. However, when I was running traditional clear view and side view all together, it was crystal clear. So if you're not gonna be running live scope, then I wouldn't worry about it at all. And if you are gonna run live scope, I would recommend getting another battery. One of my favorite features that the average angler always overlooks are the maps. And I've always been impressed with Garmin maps. And this is simply because I find fish with these maps that I would have completely missed had I not been looking at them. So I'll go and study them beforehand and while I'm out on the water if I'm struggling to find some fish. All right, let's run through just a few quick specs and features. This is stuff that you can really go look up online, so I'm just gonna breeze through it real quickly, but this will give you a better idea of which size and which unit you might actually want. So the EchoMap UHD 2 comes in a 5-inch, a 6-inch, a 7-inch, or a 9-inch screen size. And I can only speak for using the 9-inch screen, and it was crystal clear like I said. It comes with multiple transducer options. The 6 and the 7 come with the GT54, while the 9-inch like this one will come with the GT56. Sonar types that are offered also depend on which transducer and which model you get, but as always, you can get your traditional chirp, your high def clear view, or your high def side view. And then I believe the 7 and the 9-inch are both compatible with live scope, but I don't believe the 5 and the 6 are. It comes with pre-downloaded maps already, and you can choose which maps you want when you purchase the unit. And your options are the world-based map, Garmin Navionics Inland, Garmin Navionics Coastal, US Lakeview G3, and Blue Chart G3. All right, now let's walk through some of the features that I've really liked about it. All right, so I'm just gonna run through the features that this has really quick. Once again, you can look up most of these online, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it. But you can select home, you've got your nav chart, which is what we're looking at now. You've got a fishing chart, which is actually a little bit different than your navigation chart. And then you've got your 3D chart, which kind of shows you a 3D version of whatever body of water you're on. And no, I'm not obviously on this body of water. This is the showroom or the simulator is what I'm running right now, just to give you an idea. So next we'll go to sonar. You've got your traditional chirp, which is gonna look like this. You've got your clear view, which is gonna look like this. And you've got your side view, which is gonna look like this. We'll move on to split frequency, which is your traditional sonar at 2 different frequencies, just to give you a little better idea of what's underneath you. You can tell that there is a few slight differences in it, and you'll notice that as well when you're on the water. But since it's still chirp sonar, it's gonna be about the same. Your flasher, I don't ever use a flasher. I honestly have no idea how to use a flasher. Maybe you northern guys can help me out here and tell me how to use this in the comments. But it does have the flasher option if you want to use a flasher. And then it does have the live view capabilities to go down, or your front view, your real view 3D. So I did not get to test these 3 out right here with the transducer that I had, just didn't have those capabilities. But if you get the right transducer, it is an option. Live scope, I did get to test out. Like I said, my live scope was a little bit more fuzzy simply because of my battery situation and me needing to tweak some settings. But you've got the live scope option, and then you've also got perspective view, and then you've got all of your combos. So you can do both navigation charts, the navigation chart, the fishing chart, see them side by side, see the differences that you might miss on one versus the other. You can come back and do all sonar. I like to run this a lot just to have a more complete idea of what's going on below me. The traditional and the clear view, the fishing and the traditional, and then your fishing and your clear view. And then of course you can add any combo you want. Go to layout, you can pick whatever layout you want. You can name it, your overlays, all that stuff. You can even use these buttons to select, oh, this is the preset that I want for this specific combo. The Active Captain is pretty cool. You can actually download the Active Captain app to your mobile device, and it'll connect your cell phone or your iPad with the unit here, and you can kind of share some data back and forth. Then you can go to your vessel. If you hook it up with your boat and you have a lot more technologically advanced boat than a kayak like I have, then you can integrate all of this into your boat. You've got all your gauges that you might need in your trip. It'll track your mileage, it'll track fuel usage, everything you might want to track. Yamaha, if you're running a Yamaha motor, or a Mercury, or if you're using multiple engines. For some of you big boat guys like on the coast, autopilot, and your lighting. So if you need to set the mood for the fish to bite, you can do that. Your where to is just other waypoints. It's kind of a quick marker. I don't have any waypoints set, so it's not gonna show anything. Tracks. So now that we've ran through the features, who the heck is this for? Now, in my opinion, I think this unit is perfect for the tournament kayak angler or a serious boat angler that fishes a lot more local, smaller tournament. I don't think that if you're looking to go pro, that this unit is just gonna keep up with everything that you're gonna need to do, but it's a great stepping stone towards those units. For the weekend average angler, it's probably overkill, to be honest. You know, you're not gonna use all the features that's offered, so you might be better off with sticking with a little bit lower end unit. Now, if this is the fish finder you've been searching for, then I'd appreciate it if you use the link in the description below to purchase it. Doing so earns anglers.com a small commission at no extra cost to you, which allows us to continue making helpful, informative, and fun fishing content just like this. But if it's not for you, don't worry, there are plenty of other fish finders to check out, including the playlist down below me where I've reviewed a ton of them. I can't wait to see you there.